Often we see people who want to create a freedom-based business and they straight away go to, okay, cool, I'll just create a digital product and I'll sell it for $27 and I'll become a millionaire. Now, there are countless examples of people that have done that, but I would say 9 times out of 10, that's probably not going to happen for you, and here's why. Welcome to the Flow Lane with me, Emma Maiden. This podcast is for the female entrepreneurs who want the both and, big goals and a life that you can actually enjoy. We're talking sustainable scaling, working in flow, and creating a business that supports your energy, not drains it. Let's dive in. Attracting high-ticket clients with ease. Let's dive into this topic. This is going to be a little bit of a high ticket versus low ticket versus really understanding who you're selling to in your market. Now, high ticket isn't necessarily harder. It's often simpler because you need fewer yeses in order to make more money. So often we see people who want to create a freedom-based business and they straight away go to, okay, cool, I'll just create a digital product and I'll sell it for $27 and I'll become a millionaire. Now, there are countless examples of people that have done that, but I would say 9 times out of 10, that's probably not going to happen for you. And here's why. You need a large amount of volume on the front end to scale that product to a significant amount of revenue. Now, when you have that tied into a full ecosystem, it can be a very profitable funnel strategy, but it has to fit into the whole picture. So we're going to dive into this a little bit today, but essentially what we're going to understand is premium clients, who they are, how to speak to them, how to attract them so that you're not in this constant cycle of chasing people and trying to drag them into your world. You're attracting them. You're a magnet. All those things that I know that you want to be. So premium clients don't want cheap. They want certain. Certainty is what sells. When they can see that you have what it is that they want, that you solve their problem, and you are fairly certain or very certain that it's going to work for them, they'll believe you. It's the certainty that sells them, not the products, not the features. This is where so many people go wrong, where we kind of try to do the Alex Hormozi style of like value stacking. Not saying that it's wrong, but just saying that it speaks to a different kind of person. I find 9 times out of 10, people do not actually even read the what's included or what do they actually get, what are the features. They just care, does this solve my problem? Does this get me to where I want to be in the least amount of time or with the least amount of friction possible? Yes or no? Okay, great, sign me up. Premium clients don't buy cheap, they buy certainty. So I'm going to take you through the certain method, which is CERTAIN, as the name implies. So the first part of that is the mindset shift, right? For so many people, we are in this season of trying to get clients as opposed to trying to attract, align clients. Now, chasing clients and that energy feels really, really, really frantic. You're like constantly trying to chasing, constantly trying to sell, constantly selling your face off, as opposed to when you're actually able to attract people. That is a whole different kind of energy, and that is brand. And if you haven't listened to my previous episodes, I'm going to put them below on personal branding and your positioning in the marketplace. You need to understand that. Because if you're cheap and cheerful, if you're selling an under $100 product, then you're going to speak to your client completely differently than if you're selling a $10,000 package, right? Or a retreat. Now, I really learned this the hard way, if you've been watching this for a while, you'll realize that's a pattern for me, was when I was a yoga teacher and I decided I was going to start running yoga retreats. So essentially I had gone from quote unquote low ticket, meaning a $20 yoga class, to a, $3,000 USD retreat. That's a big jump, right? And I, at the time, knew nothing about sales. I had no understanding of the psychology behind it, of the processes behind it. I was just like, I'm running a retreat. Come if you want to. Don't come if you don't want to. Not the best sales strategy. So I learned pretty quickly that I was mostly surprised. I was thinking to myself, wow, this was too easy. I just made like $40,000 running these retreats and I'm in Bali and I'm living my best life. I'm just going to keep doing this. This is great. Then I realized when you start to do that outside of just your existing warm market, you actually need sales processes and you actually need really clear messaging on who you're speaking to. What I noticed in that process was that I had attracted a very high level of client. Probably because of the way that I taught, probably because of the area that I was in, the demographic of that region, perhaps, but also because of the offering. It was a little bit more boutique. It was a little bit more luxe. right? That's what these types of clients wanted. And so I had to learn to guide them through a sales process to give them certainty and safety about what they were going to experience. In my mind, I was like, yeah, you're going to do all this yoga every day, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and da 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 da. And their questions were like, what's the bathroom like? Am I sharing a room? What's the level of experience going to be? And I realized, oh, okay, there's so much more that they're considering as opposed to me trying to give them 5 million hours a day of my time in order for the value exchange. I realized that the overall package, the overall transformation was more important. And that was kind of my first foray into really realizing this. So that mindset shift then becomes, how am I attracting these aligned clients? You firstly have to know who those aligned clients are. Now, I found out by just kind of simply doing it and realizing who are the people that felt effortless to work with. Doesn't always mean that they're the most wealthy people, because sometimes they could be quite painful to work with. But you start to notice who is this type of person that you really want to work with, that feels effortless for you to work with, and then how can you attract them in? How can you speak directly to them so that they're the only people that are coming into your world? So attraction is then about actually being clear, grounded, and selective. It is boundaries. There's been a few episodes where we've dived into boundaries so far. Really understanding that. High ticket requires less convincing and more clarity. You just need to be super clear on your answers. People need to feel safe in your presence, that, okay, whatever happens when we get on that retreat, whatever happens when I come into your program, you've got me. And I trust that you've got me because you have that certainty, so I'm in. You're not trying to be for everybody. You're just trying to be so obvious for somebody, because you don't need 600 clients to hit your revenue goal. Maybe you need 6. So you need to be so obvious to those people for them to be able to find you. It's a very different strategy. You don't just get clients, you actually create clarity and let the right ones opt in. That is the attraction marketing strategy around this. So this is why high ticket can sometimes feel easier than low ticket, and why that's counterintuitive is that obviously you need fewer clients, less delivery, less admin, and you're able to give way more depth. If you have 20 people on a retreat at $1,000 each, as opposed to trying to make that from a $27 class, you think about the time it's going to take you to hit that same revenue goal, right? So you have more margin, there's more spaciousness, you can offer a better client experience because you actually have the budget to facilitate that. High ticket buyers are often buying speed, certainty, and proximity. So they're buying essentially decision relief. So they want to know that, like, okay, where I'm at in my life and where I'm trying to get to, this person has that, this person can help me get there. And doing this course, doing this training, doing this masterclass, signing up to this mentoring is what's going to actually collapse the timeline around me getting there. That's what they're really paying for. They're not paying for the list of 500 inclusions that you've written down, that trying to make it seem kind of more valuable. The ease comes from then having fewer launches, fewer sales conversations, fewer projects, because you don't need as much volume. So high ticket is fewer yeses, cleaner delivery, and often a higher impact. There's 3 things that premium clients actually start to look for. And as we've said before, that's certainty of outcome. They want to know, do you understand my problem better than I do? Can you articulate the results clearly? Am I clear of what I'm going to actually get out of this program? Certainty, number 2, certainty of process. They want to know that there's a roadmap, not 47 million steps, but a simple, confident plan. Here is the roadmap. Here is the blueprint that I'm taking you through. It's tried and tested. I'm going to hold your hand. We're walking there together. And then the certainty of yourself. You, the person selling it, your standards, your boundaries, your confidence, your consistency. They're buying your leadership. How you lead yourself is how you lead others. People can't invest large amounts of money into you if you can't lead yourself to a certain standard. So you need to then communicate those standards in your messaging so people know what they're buying into, how you are going to lead them in your process. So they're buying your certainty, not your hustle. They're not buying your results. They're buying your certainty of, can you get them the results that they are looking for? That comes from you having your own clarity around your process. So first, C in this method, in the certainty method, is clarity. So can you, in one sentence, describe who you are for, what problem you solve, and what outcome you deliver to them? the niche, we get fixated on this whole idea of being boxed in by a niche. It's less about the industry and more about the type of transformation that you're actually offering. If your messaging is really fuzzy, then premium clients feel like it's a risk. They're like, I don't know, this chick's a hot mess. She's kind of here, she's kind of there. I like the vibe, but this is not for me. It's too messy. When you're actually clear and certain, hey, this is who I am, this is who I serve, this is how I'm going to get you there, they feel safe within that. It's kind of like going on a date, right? You feel safe when you feel like someone has their shit together. Number 3, evidence. Specific proof over vague hype. So proof can be results, stories, case studies, screenshots, patterns, things you've seen. Evidence actually requires this perceived risk. Now, I love stacking evidence of my own clients. And I feel like this is my gripe at the moment with the coaching industry and the world that I find myself in, is that so many people are really good at selling their own results. My funnel made me $1 million. My Instagram page generated this. I was able to do this. That's great because that's you. But can you actually replicate those results in other people? Most of the time, no, because we're also individual. And this is why my approach is different, in that I so much more prefer individual approaches. So when I work with someone, whether they're in our 1% club or in our private mentoring, I am so clear on who they are, who they're here to serve, what problem it is that they're solving, what their positioning is in the market, so I can help them see it and I can help them get clear on what their actual predicted results are, because their results will not be my results. It's unrealistic. We don't have the same brand, we're not the same people, we don't have the same amount of drive. You can learn this, I can teach you the skill, you can learn anything. You can get the drive, you can be hungry for it. All of these things that I can see within people that I know is what's going to make them successful, but I can't promise that my funnel, replicating it word for word, is going to, be it for you. And that's why I don't sell templates, because I don't really believe that they work. You have to tweak them so much to make them work for you. So when I work with someone, I'll say, here's the framework, like fill it out, and then let's actually personalize it to you and your business. And so then the evidence that I prefer to stack is my actual client results, not just my own. But in the beginning, maybe you only have your own, in which case just share them. Share something to show that you have the evidence. R, results path. Name your process, 3 to 5 steps that you're taking people through. Premium clients want to know how you actually think. So give them the structure which makes them feel safe. So that they're signing up for your nervous system reset program. And you're able to actually say to them, I'm going to take you through a process. First, we're unraveling your stress. Then we're going into this. Then we're going to clear whatever it is. And you'll move out of here, a completely regulated person. And you're like, great, I feel safe in that process. I know what to expect. I know what I'm signing up for. Take my money. Which brings us to letter T, the transformation. Sell the after in emotional language. So the identity, the time, the freedom, the peace. What is the identity that they're going to have on the other side of working with you? They're not buying the information, they're buying change. They can get information from anywhere. Information is the most easy thing to come by on the internet right now. You can put it into AI and get information spat at you left, right, and center. But people are still buying high-ticket programs that kind of center around that information, because they know that having that person walk beside them, pardon me, they're actually buying the change. They're buying the accountability. They're buying the fact that they know that they're going to show up. A, I feel like a cheerleader. Hey, I'm a cheerleader now. Alignment, values-based positioning, anti-hustle, sustainable scaling, energetic ROI. You hear me say that over and over and over again, because I am not going to attract someone that just wants to hustle their way to the top. They're not going to come to me. They're not going to like my style. They're not going to like it when I tell them that the fact that they're not looking after themselves, and that's why their business is reflecting that, because they're in a different mentality. So I share my values constantly, and I get my clients to do the same thing, so that they're attracting these people that are positioned accordingly. So then you need to be really clear on who is this not for. So this actually then increases that premium buyer trust. When they can see, this is for me, if I'm like, for example, this is not for beginners in business. This mastermind is for people that are doing, 10K a month minimum and ready to scale to the next level. Okay, I know if I'm not quite there yet, I got some work to do to get to that point, and then I can be in that program. or whatever it is. So they actually know who it's not for, which makes them feel safer that it is for them. Because there's nothing worse than signing up for a program thinking that it's going to transform you in some way, and you realize you're in a beginner's room and you feel like, wow, this is not where I want to be. I want to go to the next level, but I'm at the same level. So you have to be really clear, because boundaries make you feel safer to actually buy from. They know who's not going to be in the room. So therefore they feel, okay, great. I'm there, sign me up. So then you have invitation, the simple CTA, the one next step, the not apologizing, not discounting, not the like, hey, sorry to bother you, just following up. If you're ready for X, here's how we do it. Clear communication. Are you in? Are you out? We don't mess around. Leaders don't mess around. And I notice this a lot. If someone inquires about a program or about one of my offerings, and I go back and forth with them, answering their questions, and then it gets to the point of like, are you in or out? And they ghost. And then they'll watch your stories for the next 6 months, and they won't say anything, and they won't get back to your follow-up. They'll just completely ghost. That is not leadership, and I don't want to work with that person. I don't care if you say no, just say no. Have the ability to actually say, no, thank you, like an adult. No, thanks. It's not a good fit for me right now. And we move on. You might come back around later. We might work together another way. Great. But leaving that leaky energy of just being a ghost, feels awful. And it's the same for me on the other side of that. Like when I have people pitching to me to want to come on my podcast or want to work with me in some way, and it's not aligned, I will say, thank you so much for putting this together, for actually taking the time to be a human, and the time that you spent pitching this. It's not a fit for right now, but we can circle back to it later. Or I'll give them a timeline. Or if it's a clear no, I'll just say it's not an alignment for where I'm at right now. But at least they know where they stand. At least they actually got the no. They can close the loop and move on. So if you're someone who ghosts, please have the self-leadership to just say no thank you and move on with your life. Like my toddler is more polite than half the people on the internet. Side note, N is for nervous system. Your enrollment energy. Are you grounded or are you performing? Is there this desperation within you? Because that's going to repel people. Certainty is what attracts. The ability to actually put it out there and say, here's the package, here's the offering, here's the product, and then take it or leave it. To actually be okay with the no. I would rather receive the no than the ghost, but I'm okay with people not picking up what I'm putting down, because I'm super clear on who it's for, who it best serves, and if that person doesn't feel pulled to it, never drag somebody in. If you drag somebody in, you're going to be dragging them through the whole process, because you can use all the sales tactics in the world to make someone kind of push that buying decision. But then if they're not actually going to show up and be an equal contributor to whatever the program that is that you're selling or the package, it's just never going to work. You don't want to be around that. So that comes through in how your nervous system is poised when you're actually in the selling process, when you're on the sales call or in the DMs or however it is that you're communicating with your potential client if you're selling high ticket. So you can be warm but still direct, and your tone actually teaches people how to value you. So I have this all the time where, for example, people will say, yeah, I see the value in working with you. I want to dive into this, and they'll try and negotiate on price in some way. And I'm super clear of like, this is the price. This is how much it is. These are the client results I've gotten. These are my own results. Like this isn't something that you can kind of discount. I can be flexible with payment terms for sure, but you're either in or you're out, and this is it. And that leadership often makes people straight away go, no, you're right. I know this is what I need. I was just in my old lack stories. We often say that the transformation is in the transaction. Often when you actually make that investment in yourself, into a program or whatever it is, something shifts within you. You instantly feel like that new version of yourself already, because you trusted yourself to actually lean in. It's super, super, super powerful. So premium clients buy certainty, and certainty is created from you. You have to be certain in your process. And this is where the leaks come in. This is where the imposter syndrome comes in. This is where the doubting of the process comes in. So when that happens, I want you to go back to the facts, because your brain will tell you one thing. Your brain will start to say, I'm not as good as that other person, or you'll compare yourself to all the other people in your industry. I want you to come back to your own results, your own client testimonials, your own transformations that you've delivered for people. That's the proof. That's the evidence. That's the reminder, like, oh yeah, whatever I'm doing, whatever the thing is, this is working. I can keep continually coming back to that. as an anchor when I feel wobbly, when I feel like, I'm not sure. Actually, no, here's the repeatable process that's played out. So that's why in the beginning, it's really, really important that you actually do some sort of pilot program for whatever it is that you're selling that's high ticket, that people are coming in at a slightly less price and they're able to actually give you feedback of the process so that you know, yeah, when I'm selling this to someone at full price, I am like really certain that this is the thing that's going to help them. And that also means that you're comfortable with turning people away that aren't for you. I will cross-refer to other people all the time if I think, you know what, I could technically bend and stretch and try and help you, but that's actually not what I do. You're better off to go and see this person. And that is clarity and leadership. And that person might come back around to me in some other way. That's like true abundant mindset, right? So actually charging this premium price, whatever that is for you, without any guilt. So the moment that you realize that you're undercharging, oh man, you start to realize how much it costs you. Because when you realize that you've undercharged someone or that you've underquoted it, and I learned this lesson countless times when I used to run my marketing agency. I would see this client, I loved their program, I loved their vision, I got so excited by it, and I would give the quote and I would realize, oh wow, I really underquoted that. And then the resentment starts to come in. The energy doesn't feel good, your capacity doesn't feel good in the delivery of that because you've undersold it. So you need to also really be clear on what is your pricing and why. Why does it make sense for you? Is it actually profitable? Because I see that happen so often when people will quote something or they'll say a price and then they realize, oh, I actually made no money off that. And now I'm resenting this whole process. So then you need to leverage it. Maybe you're leveraging it and you're using it as a testimonial or a case study or something like that. Everything can be leveraged, but you need to learn from that so that you feel really comfortable in that. So in this enrollment energy stage, what actually attracts or repels people your way? Over-explaining, justifying the price, trying to convince someone, talking to everybody, not just your dream client, sounding unsure of your own process. All of that makes people be like, I'm not sure, I don't know. What actually attracts people? Calm confidence, groundedness, clear standards, simple messaging, strong boundaries, decisive invitation. All of these things make people see you as the obvious choice to help them solve their problem. Confidence is client safety. When you're confident in your process and in who you are as a leader, people will follow you. If you don't have that, it's a lot harder. And that's just something for you to work on. Can I get to a point where I actually am so clear that what I'm doing matters? And a lot of people are getting people incredible results and downplaying their impact, downplaying how much impact they're having in other people's lives. Because maybe you're not performing open heart surgery, so to you it doesn't feel like you're doing much. But maybe you helped someone not be snapping at their partner. Maybe you helped someone heal their money wound. Maybe you helped someone not be feeling pain in their body. All of these things for somebody else are life altering. It might not feel that way for you, but anchor yourself in how am I actually helping people? Have your focus outwards on other people, not just yourself. How am I helping these people? Use that as the evidence that you need to give you the confidence. So this is like a little quick premium client audit that you can do or think about. Can somebody tell who you help and what outcome you give them in 10 seconds? Do you have 3 proof points that are visible right now? So can I look at your website or your social media page and actually see, is there a results highlight? Can I see proof that you actually deliver what it is that you claim to deliver in your bio? Is your process named? This is a big one. So many people are like, I just offer breath work, but really you offer a combination of all these other things and your process is so different to what you first learned. So give it a name so that you can call it the authority, anchor, method, process, whatever, people can follow it. Are your boundaries clear? Because people can't feel safe with you if your boundaries are not clear. They'll walk away. There is no clarity. If you're clear where the boundaries are, they're clear to work with you. And then is your CTA one clear, simple next step? Are people moving through a very, very messy funnel and getting lost somewhere along the way? Or is it super clear and super obvious? Here's how to come into my world. Personally, I do both. I have funnels and I also invite people to directly DM me because I love having that conversation with people. It's like a little it's like a way for me to check out if we're a good fit. But I also don't allow anyone to come into my private mentoring unless they've done one of the other steps. So they have started with a strategy session, for example. So you can apply as well to access our group programs. So we don't just let anybody in, because we're super clear on the results that we're getting people and the people that we want to help. This isn't about just taking in a mass amount of people and then having this mess. And that's, I think, where the coaching industry in particular has gone wrong, is that people have prioritized profit and their own results over their clients' results. So they're more interested in selling their program so they can be like, I built $1 million program, yay me, and their clients are having terrible results. So for me, I'm really clear that if you're coming into those higher touch spaces, then we need to work together. If you're buying our lower ticket offers, go for it. Get a sense of what we're all about. Like that, you do you. But I want to work with someone that I know fits all of those things. So if you said no to 3 or more of those things, then it's not your price, it's your positioning. And if you want to charge high ticket, you have to position yourself accordingly, and you cannot compare yourself to people that are positioned in a different marketplace. So please go back and watch the positioning episode, because it's going to help you really understand where you sit in all of this. You can also, as we said before, have an ecosystem where somebody comes in maybe for a low ticket offer, they get a sense of who you are, they get a sense of how you work, they get some really clear actionable takeaways from that. And that then gives them the safety and the trust. They know your boundaries, they know your leadership style to move into a higher ticket program. There's so many different ways that you can funnel this. It's not to say that high ticket is better than low ticket or vice versa. It's just you understanding where you're positioned in the marketplace, what you're actually selling, which business model makes sense for your season of life, and then how you're going to create an ecosystem around all of that. So if you're actually ready for this whole process of attracting these premium clients with ease and not needing to kind of having to feel like you need to push harder to actually step into your leadership, then you can apply for our 1% club. I'm going to put the link below. It's an application process because we want to be really clear that we can definitely help you and that you're the right fit, that you're at the right stage of your business, that this is going to actually be really supportive, because the first part of it is all about this brand, positioning, offer, and then we dive into actually creating and building the systems and the automations to hold that at scale. So if that feels like where you're at right now in business, I'm going to put the link below so that you can find out more about that program and apply, and I'll be back again with you really soon.